Peter's a preeminent marketing thinker on a worldwide basis. I really didn't know Peter until about 20 years ago. Our advertising agency had won the assignment to take Apple, the computer company, worldwide. And although TBWA was a rather large international advertising agency with offices all over the world, I felt that we needed somebody who had a sympathy and understanding, a deep understanding of people of different cultures. Peter sees the good sides, the opportunities of a problem. He's a problem solver. People like working with Peter, and that was really key for our young international company to handle a huge project like Apple and sell to different parts of the world, a campaign that made no sense in English, think different. Peter accomplished that. From the very beginning, I found that Peter was a confident man and a happy man. And bright people usually don't like to smile, don't like to exude much charm. So Peter was really a rare bird, is a rare bird of a guy who's smart, but not full of himself. He doesn't think the world begins and ends with what Peter Economides thinks, although sometimes you might think so.
Everybody. Hello, everybody. Δήμαρχε, η λάμπα θέλει αλλαγή. I think Greece needs a lot more mayors like Dimitri, no? Unbelievable. Dimitri, συγχαρητήρια. Γίνεται. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This gentleman over here, Michalis, he did this thing over here. Just to explain the little animal on the side there. My nickname as a kid was Blue Fox. So that's a little blue fox over there. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I just want to start with a little story. I travel a lot. And one morning I woke up and I looked at my alarm clock next to the bed and it said 6:30. And suddenly I realized that I had a plane at 7:30. And I started rushing. And I realized that I just wasn't going to make it. So I sat on the bed and I was really feeling really uncomfortable. I was about to miss a plane. I had to call the airport, talk to somebody, and deal with a difficult problem. And I dialed the airport. And somebody came onto the phone and I explained the problem. And she said to me, Κύριε Economide, καταλαβαίνω ακριβώς πώς αισθάνεστε. Μην ανησυχείτε. Να πάτε να κοιμηθείτε άλλες 2 ώρες. Θα σας πάρω εγώ σε λίγο με τη λύση. And I went, wow, I don't believe that. And 2 hours later, she called me with the solution. That person in a 2-minute telephone call did more for the brand of the company she was working for than millions and millions of dollars of advertising would have done. She was working with her humanity. Notice how she started. I understand exactly how you feel. That person's name is Patricia, and I saw her earlier. Patricia, πού είσαι? Πού? Έλα από εδώ. This person's remarkable. And I walked outside and I saw Patricia earlier. Unbelievable. Huh? Thank you, thank you. I've told the story of Patricia so many times because she is to me the best example of what I'm going to be talking about. The power of ethos. The real power of ethos. Bravo. Bravo. This is something else that Mihaly did a couple of years ago for me. And you'll notice down at the bottom there's a salata. It's a salata με μπατζούρια. Και αυτός είναι ο λόγος που δεν μιλάω ελληνικά. Έχω πει και πιο χοντρά, πίστεψέ με. The reason why I don't speak Greek too well is that I was brought up in South Africa. And that over there is my family. My grandmother on the right-hand side. The young little girl is my mother. I lost her 2 years ago at the age of 92. So you can imagine when that photograph was taken. That's my papu standing behind her. I'm named after my papu. His name is Peter. And that's his first business. They left from Imvros, by the way, as refugees. And they got onto a boat and they went to South Africa. 1922. No internet. You can't check what the weather's like. You get on a boat and you go. And when you arrive there, if you don't like it, tough luck. You got no money. You can't go anywhere else. And a couple of years later, he opened up his first business, and he called it the Australian Cash Store, which was either brilliant branding or he made a huge mistake, because he was in South Africa. Maybe he thought it was in Melbourne. I have no idea. So I grew up with a name like Economides, so naturally I studied economics. But I really, really found myself in marketing, which I just love. I'm very, very inquisitive about people. And if you're in marketing, you must be inquisitive about people. My father wanted me to work for him. It was his dream. He'd built up a company from nothing in South Africa. And I remember going to my father one day and I said, Dad, this is not what I want to do. He looks at me and he says, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be a big deal on Madison Avenue. He says to me, πού το διάλογο είναι αυτό? Τον εξηγώ λίγο για Madison Avenue. And he looked at me with a big smile on his face and he said, go and show them who we are. And he gave me wings. And I joined Pepsi-Cola in South Africa. I then joined McCann Erickson in South Africa, very large global advertising agency. I moved to Hong Kong. I came to Athens. I went to Mexico. And finally, I made it to Madison Avenue. I was executive vice president at McCann Erickson, New York, running the worldwide Coca-Cola advertising account. And after a couple of years, I left and I joined TBWA, Bill Tragos, the guy you saw earlier, Vasilis Tragos, by the way, from Kalamata. Brilliant guy, absolutely amazing guy. And I worked for TBWA in New York. I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time. And I was involved in launching Apple globally with the Think Different campaign, which Bill mentioned. But Greece kind of called me back. And I think earlier on we heard Dimitri say, the pull of Greece. It's very powerful, believe me. There's very little like this country, very little. And I came back to Greece. TBWA was known as the Disruption Company. Disruption in English, of course, means when things just they change dramatically. They get disrupted. I believe that in today's world, it's better to talk about eruption, because today change just explodes. We're living under the volcano. The fourth industrial revolution. Petros spoke about that earlier. Started with steam. And when you think about it, not that long ago, my grandmother was still around. Steam, electricity, digital, and today we've got tech fusion. There's some examples of tech fusion: robotics, machine learning, AI, biotech, etc. Where the digital, the physical, and the biological world start to fuse, start to come together. It's already happening on your phone, by the way. Face recognition is a great example of it. The fourth industrial revolution. On the one side, it's about technology, which is how stuff works. On the other side, it's about anthropology, which is how people work. And suddenly, around the fourth industrial revolution, we've had a rise in ethics and identity, perhaps as compensation for this technology. We've also had a rise in this idea of purpose. Companies talk about their purpose today in a way that they didn't do that long ago. You got universal connectivity. News flies around this planet in a second these days. Everybody's connected. Thought proliferation occurs. A new thing happens in China. We understand it in Athens minutes later. And of course, you got the circular economy. A sudden awareness that this planet has got a finite life. And environmental activism, which we saw in previous decades, for example, Greenpeace, is now being replaced by environmentally active behavior. That's very different stuff. And all of that stuff is interconnected. So it's a complex world that kid is growing up in. How's that world going to be in 18 years from today, when he suddenly becomes an active consumer, an active participant in the economy? It's a very different world. I did some work last year with American Express, and I love what the CEO had to say, Steve Squeri. He says, respect the past, enhance it, but don't preserve it. Respect the past, enhance it, but don't preserve it. Interesting coming from the CEO of American Express, which makes their money from plastic cards, which have evolved recently into metallic cards. He knows full well that plastic is old technology. We use our telephones to pay these days. And soon we might use face recognition. I walk into a restaurant, they understand exactly who I am. Why not? Why not? Jeff Bezos says, don't get addicted to shiny because shiny does not last. Remember Kodak? Shiny stuff disappeared. Remember Nokia? Pretty shiny stuff. It disappeared. Anybody tell me what that is? You guys are good. You guys are all bikers, right? Unmistakably Harley. Unmistakably Harley. That sound is part of the Harley brand. Part of the Harley brand. What's this sound? Next year's Harley. Next year's Harley. Now, can you imagine being Harley Davidson? That's your user image, okay? And these are your customers, okay? And you're suddenly doing this thing like making a silent motorbike. You're looking for trouble. You're looking for trouble. Four years ago, a journalist asked the CEO of Ferrari when Ferrari would launch an electric car. Here's his answer. You'll have to shoot me first. 2 years later, they asked him that question again. If there is an electric supercar to be built, then Ferrari will be the first. If you don't do it, someone else will. Very simple. The fourth industrial revolution. Right at the bottom, I spoke about environmental activism giving way to environmentally active behavior. It's just not cool to mess up the environment anymore. We used to protest about it. Now we buy stuff to support what we believe. Greta Thunberg, look at this. You lied to us. You gave us false hope. You told us the future was something to look forward to. A 16-year-old girl who was on the front cover of Time magazine, a 16-year-old girl who's taking on President Trump at every opportunity. There's a lot of power there, a tremendous amount of power there. And there are a whole bunch of trends behind all of this. Good for me, good for the planet, the clean food movement. Bicycles in London, the streets are full of them. No more compromises. There's nothing wrong with a Tesla electric car, thank you very much. Porsche has just launched the Taycan. I'd love to have one of those. By the way, 0 to 100 kilometers in 2.9 seconds. Quite remarkable. Next to that, I work for a super yacht manufacturer in Holland, and that's the world's largest dyno rig sailing boat. You can travel on that from Athens to New York without burning a drop of fuel. It's got batteries as well, so when you're sailing, you're charging up your batteries. It's remarkable, beautiful. Shared responsibility. We're taking care of things like we didn't before. Tom's, for example, has got its whole brand based on this whole idea of buy a pen, we'll give a pen to somebody who needs shoes. And then there's this other one. Consumers today have a voice. You are no longer who you say you are. You are who other people say you are. We've got empowered consumers. It's no longer a one-way world. And that's the next big trend. Universal connectivity, thought proliferation. In 1994, I wrote this thing, and I read it, I found it the other day, and I was actually quite amazed. I want to read it to you. What it says is this: borders are disappearing, walls are tumbling down, curtains are parting, phones are more accessible, video conferencing is almost as good as being there, but being there is not that expensive anyway. Don't bother flying over, I'm online. Virtual office, virtual reality. Who cares where on this planet you are? Just keep in touch. One phone wherever you roam. Don't call me, I'll beep you. French water in Mexico, Mexican beer in London, Burberry's in Hong Kong, Chinese food in Moscow, Russian vodka in Athens, Gyros in Joburg, Quella in Milan, Armani in Beijing, ginseng in LA, Spagos in Tokyo, Rebirth in Detroit. Coca-Cola, always, everywhere. RAM, ROM, 286, 386, 486 Pentium. Windows or Apple. PowerPC by IBM, Apple, and Motorola. There's more computing power in my Apple PowerBook than there was in the entire computing department at the University of Cape Town in 1969. True. It's in the mail. Email, voicemail, MTV, HBO, CNN, QVC, PPV, movies on demand, surf, stop, interact. Did you say 500 channels on the information highway? Where's my agent? Move. There's no speed limit here. Video game reflex. Just do it. And if it's not perfect this time, just do it again. Massive markets, not mass markets. With so much choice, the consumer finally is king. Massive media, not mass media. I'll watch what I want, when I want. The rise of a new individualism, the future. One place, Earth. No more target markets, individuals. Targets. Dear John, do you really want a 30-second spot on network television? I wrote that in 1994. And I picked it up the other day and I said, wow, that's all happened. It's all happened. By the way, Patricia didn't look at me as a customer. She said, "Καταλαβαίνω πώς αισθάνεστε." It was an individual. That's the power of what she did. And that's the power that we need in today's world. Fast forward. 2020. Television's not working. Not the way that it used to. Not working. Because this is the new TV. This is where we get our information. Odimar Josipe very soon will get everything off our mobiles. I think he's absolutely right. Absolutely right. 10 years ago, this second-rate country and western singer called Dave Carroll flew on United Airlines, and they broke his guitar. He put in a claim for $3,200 for a new guitar, because they broke his. And after 6 months of back and forth, they refused to pay him. So he made a video.
I flew United Airlines on my way to Nebraska. The plane departed Halifax, connecting in Chicago's O'Hare. While on the ground, a passenger said from the seat behind me, "My God, they're throwing guitars out there." The band and I exchanged a look, best described as terror, at the action on the tarmac and knowing whose projectiles these would be. So before I left Chicago, I alerted 3 employees who showed complete indifference towards me. Should have flown with someone else or gone by car. 'Cause United breaks guitars.
I should have flown with someone else or gone by car, because United breaks guitars. Right? So he makes this song, right? He makes the video, he puts it up on YouTube. He gets 20 million views in a week. Okay? 20 million views. All right? Very quickly, of course, all the networks pick it up: CNN, CBS, NBC, ABC, and everybody else. It becomes the #1 country and western song on iTunes. So he starts selling this song, right? He then publishes a book called United Breaks Guitars. Okay? And within 4 days of the song going online, the gathering thunderclouds of bad PR caused United Airlines stock price to suffer a mid-flight stall, and it plunged by 10%, costing shareholders $180 million, which incidentally would have bought Carroll more than 51,000 replacement guitars. Fly the friendly skies my ass. But these guys didn't learn their lesson. 2 years ago, they dragged a passenger off a United Airlines flight. And it's horrible video. I'm not even going to show it to you. And somebody on the plane, in fact, a lot of people on the plane, filmed this on their iPhone. And they put this onto Twitter. This time, the stock price dropped and they lost $1.8 billion in a week. Fly the friendly skies my ass. 20 years ago, if you dragged somebody off a plane, maybe 200 people, if the plane was full, would see it happening. It's not like that anymore. You are no longer who you say you are. You are who people say you are. Back to Patricia. I talk about her because what she did's amazing. Under the volcano. What the fuck happened to my job? There are a lot of people saying that. What happened to my job? This is what happened. But along with that, a whole bunch of consumer human behavioral things started happening too. The most important curve for me in marketing is this, the diffusion of innovation. That's the shape of it. It's a bell-shaped curve. And it explains how innovation spreads through society. By the way, today, there are more smartphones on the planet than there are toothbrushes. It's an unbelievable statistic. It's unbelievable. This is what that curve looks like. On the left-hand side, you've got the change makers. You've then got the early responders, the late responders, and the laggards. The definitions are, in fact, extreme left, the innovators, which is 2.5% of the market, early adopters, 13.5%, what they call the early majority, which is where things start to go mainstream, which is 34%, the late majority, another 34%, and right at the end is my grandmother. This is where the volume is. That's where successful companies operate by definition, because that's where the volume is. And businesses need to protect current revenues through continuous improvement, making things more efficient, making this year's model a little better than last year's model. And companies have to do that. But on this side is where tomorrow's volumes are built, and businesses need to guarantee the future with breakthrough innovation. Kodak didn't pay too much attention to that. This is the tipping point where upstream goes mainstream. When you pass that point, all of a sudden growth starts happening very, very fast. That's where businesses become big. That's where they scale up. In the middle, that's where big lives, by definition. And that's the problem with big. That's the problem, because they're trying to keep themselves in the middle. Ask Amex, ask Hilton Hotels, ask Nokia, ask Kodak, ask big pharmaceutical companies, ask the shipping industry. They've got big issues with what I was describing earlier with the circular economy. Ask the automotive industry. They've all got issues. They've got a legacy mindset. They are focused on keeping what they've got. On the left-hand side, you've got a startup mindset. And the startup mindset is very different because startups are looking to get a piece of the big action. They're looking at the new stuff, by definition. Incremental change on that side, step change on that side. Hilton Hotels on this side, Airbnb on the other side. Airbnb was started by two kids in San Francisco who had a spare room in their apartment, and they bought an air mattress and rented out the room. Airbnb today is the world's largest hospitality company. They don't own a single property. Could Hilton Hotels have done something like that? Of course. Would they even think about it? No way. Because they'd be challenging themselves. Kodak actually invented the digital camera. And the CEO said, hide that away. It'll destroy our business. It did destroy their business, but somebody else destroyed it. If you don't do it, someone else will. American Express, Revolut, and other payment systems. And I'm sure we're going to be seeing face recognition payment systems. Why not? I'll walk into Zara. Zara knows who I am. It's read my face. Legacy mindset is focused on the forest. Startup mindset is focused on the new trees. Very different stuff. Very, very different. Consistency. Consistency, which is the big mindset. Let's be consistent. Perfectly exemplified by Coca-Cola. That brand was built through 135 years of absolute consistency. Absolute consistency. It's remarkable, actually. It's remarkable. Every year, Interbrand measures the world's most valuable global brands. That's the ranking for the year 2000. Predictably, Coca-Cola is up at the top. It had been for many, many, many years. Okay. Notice the value of Coca-Cola, 72.5 billion. That's a lot of money to evaluate a brand. Number 2, Microsoft. Number 3, IBM. And then come the rest. Here are the numbers for 2018. Now look at that. 75 million was Coca-Cola in the year 2000. Number 1 on this chart is 214 billion. Number 2 is 155 billion, and number 3 is 100 billion. Anybody got any idea who number 1 is? Apple? Facebook? Apple. Who's number 2? Google. Who's number 3? Amazon. And there come the rest. Facebook, by the way, is down there below Mercedes-Benz. You see it? Facebook is there. Do you like my pointer? Isn't it cool? Huh? You want to see that again? It's really cool. Okay, now watch this. That's 2018, okay? That's 2019. Apple has increased in value by $20 billion in a year. In a year. By the way, Amazon up 24%, Coca-Cola down 4%. IBM, which used to be number 3, down 6%. Remarkable. Facebook, by the way, right at the bottom now, they lost 12% in value. That was part of the American scandal with Zuckerberg in the Senate and stuff like that. It's all got to do with that as well. Now look at this. You got 3 companies at the top. One of those companies started as a computer company. The other one started as a search company, Google. And Amazon started as a book company, online books. It was a bookseller. It's a bookstore. That's all it was. All of those companies have got home assistants that they're selling. Apple's got one, Google's got one, Amazon's got one. And the question is, what are you going to buy? Apple, Google, or Amazon? They're all doing exactly the same thing. We believe good men more fully and more readily than others. This is true generally, whatever the question is, and absolutely true where exact certainty is impossible and opinions are divided. 2,500 years ago, Aristotle. In other words, that exactly is ethos, my character, what I stand for. Brand. Let's just think about brand for a second. What is a brand? It's a set of impressions. That's all it is. It's a set of impressions that lives in people's heads. What others think about you, your reputation. Everything communicates. What you say, what you don't say, what you do, what you don't do. Everything communicates. Think of a megaphone. Think of a megaphone. Out of this megaphone comes what you say, what you don't say, what you do, and what you don't do. That defines who you are. What comes out of that megaphone depends on the design of that megaphone. In other words, on what you believe. Because what you believe is what guides how you behave. That's what culture is all about. That's called ethos. And the stuff on that side is called logos. What I say, what I don't say, what I do, what I don't do. But it's all guided by ethos. That gives consistency in my character, but it gives me agility in what I do. So even if I start life as an online bookstore, I can compete with Apple, with the Home Assistant, and with Google. Because I've got a consistent character, and that consistency allows me to be agile. So all of a sudden, going back to that curve I showed you, I can afford to operate on the left-hand side of the curve because I stand for something. Does that make sense to you? That results in strong human connection. That creates loyalty. We like to associate with good people with whom we share values. That creates the conditions for sustainable growth. Multiple transactions over time are a result of that. I own every single one of those computers, and I can't wait for the next one to come out. It also allows multiple transactions across categories. I've got an iMac, I've got an iPod, I use iTunes, I've got an iPhone, I use the App Store, I've got an iPad, a MacBook, iCloud, TV, a watch, I use Apple Pay, and I've got a HomePod. And when Apple launches a refrigerator, I'm buying it. And when they launch a motor car, we'll all go and see it. And don't tell me you won't. Henry Ford, if I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. I love that. I absolutely love that. It's so true. I hate market research, by the way, for that reason. You're going to ask people what they want. Steve Jobs always used to say, people don't know what they want until you show it to them. And a great example is the iPod. Say hello to iPod, 1,000 songs in your pocket. Now, if he'd done market research, I know what I would have said. I want smaller CDs so I can fit more in my pocket. Because we were all listening to CD players at the time. Our mind wasn't going there. But that's what Steve Jobs did. Vogue magazine, Anna Wintour said the following thing. She says, it's always about timing. If it's too soon, no one understands. And if it's too late, everyone's forgotten. That's really amazing. Timing is everything. Timing is absolutely everything. Apple gets it right. That over there is the launch of the, I believe it was the iPhone 5. The Regent Street store in London. This guy is one of the first to get the new iPhone. By the way, he doesn't really know exactly what it does. But because of the ethos of Apple, he's got expectations, right? He's got expectations. He doesn't know what it does yet. But he goes home and he makes an unboxing video. Anybody seen unboxing videos? These are ridiculous. I mean, we watch people opening up boxes. Do me a favor, right? 12.5 million views. You're not who you say you are. We are what other people say we are. That guy is doing magic for Apple. Brand rhetoric. Ethos, logos, keros, pathos. I discovered keros. I didn't know that Aristotle had spoken about keros, but he spoke about timeliness, about saying the right thing at the right time. I always thought it was ethos, logos, and pathos, but there's keros inside there, I discovered quite recently. And that over there is remarkably good as a brand model. It's remarkably good. Brand rhetoric. On the left-hand side, you've got purpose, belief, values, and character. And I want you to think for a second back on that chart I had with the fourth industrial revolution. Purpose, remember, on the left-hand side. So here you've got purpose, belief, values, and character. What you do and don't do, say and don't say, logos. pathos, the reaction you evoke, the unboxing video, right? That joy at being the first guy to buy the new, really expensive iPhone. And Kairos, timing. Timing. And remember what Anna Wintour said. If it's too early, they don't understand. If it's too late, it's forgotten. And that gives you 4 things which is valuable to any brand. It gives you consistency, because you cannot build a great brand without consistency. But you cannot survive in today's world of change without agility. Logos gives that to you. You want to connect emotionally, obviously, but you also need to be relevant. You don't want to be misunderstood or forgotten, to go back to Anna Wintour's words. Let's see how this works for a couple of brands. Starbucks. 28,000 cafeteria. Παιδιά, είναι τρελό. 28.000 καφετέρια παγκοσμίως. Έτσι, που πουλάνε ακριβό, όχι τόσο σπουδαίο καφέ. But look at what they say. When we are fully engaged, we connect with, laugh with, and uplift the lives of our customers, even if just for a few moments. Sure, it starts with the promise of a perfectly made beverage, but our work goes far beyond that. It's really about human connection. Καταλαβαίνω ακριβώς πώς αισθάνεστε. That's human connection. By the way, the people who work at Starbucks wear these aprons. Και γράφει κάτι μέσα. Δεν γράφει we make the best coffee. It says we create inspired moments in each customer's day. Anticipate, connect, personalize, own. If we suddenly discover that coffee causes cancer, they can start selling mango juice tomorrow. It's not a problem. That is incredible stuff for them to become agile. By the way, they can use other technologies to connect coffee with people. They choose to write it. Why? It creates a human connection. Excuse me, what's your name? Peter. You wrote it wrong. It gives human connection. Apple. I'm going to show you just one thing from Apple. The manifesto film, Think Different, which we launched back in 1997.
Here's to the crazy ones. The misfits. The rebels. The troublemakers. The round pegs in the square holes. The ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
That is all about ethos. There's not even a single, the word computer is not used. It's about ethos. Just to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the round pegs in the square holes, the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world. Did you notice Maria Callas inside there? TBW had 2 Greeks in it at the time, Dragos and Economides. Avis, this is an ad which was written in 1964. 1964. Before we started thinking about marketing and branding in all these kinds of ways. Look at this. Avis needs you. You don't need Avis. Avis never forgets this. We're still a little hungry. We're only number 2 in rent-a-cars. Customers aren't a dime a dozen to us. Sometimes when business is too good, they get the short end. and aren't treated like customers anymore. Wouldn't you like the novel experience of walking up to a counter and not feel you're bothering somebody? Try it. Come to the Avis counter and rent a new Ford. Avis is only number 2 in rent-a-cars, so we have to try harder to make our customers feel like customers. Our counters all have 2 sides, and we know which side our bread is buttered on. 1964. Brilliant. Brilliant. Nike, just do it. Find your greatness is the thought behind just do it. We've all been in that position at some point in our lives when we're challenged to do something which we think we can't do. We are scared of it. We've all been there. And Nike says, just do it. And let me read this to you. Somehow we've come to believe that greatness is only for the chosen few, for the superstars. The truth is, greatness is for us all. This is not about lowering expectations. It's about raising them for every last one of us. Greatness is not in one special place, and it's not in one special person. Greatness is wherever somebody is trying to find it. Εξαιρετικό. Ήθος. Δεν πουλάει παπούτσια. Τους επιτρέπει να πουλάνε παπούτσια σαν τρελό. Aristotle to Miles. I'm talking about Miles Davis, my favorite jazz artist. Marketing is jazz. Marketing is jazz. And I think that's the reason why you need ethos, because it's improvisation in today's world. You never play the same song in the same way. No way. Learn your music well. Now let go of everything you know. Know who you are. Gnosis αυτόν. Stay true to who you are. Ethos. Είμαστε αυτό που κάνουμε επανειλημμένως. Η αριστεία δεν είναι μια πράξη, αλλά μια συνήθεια. Brand Rhetoric. I just want to see how this fits. Consistency, agility, relevance, and connection. Okay? Let's see how this works with countries. When you think of Sweden, precision comes to mind as the ethos of Switzerland. Yeah? Watches, banking, all that kind of stuff. Italy? Style. Would you agree? Design, motor cars, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Armani. Greece? Fun. Kind of lost it. That's my favorite piece of art. Μετά από αυτό που μου έκανε ο Michalis. To me, that is Greece crying. 10 years of crisis. There's a lot to cry about. There's a lot to cry about. By the way, it's very sad to think that there are young kids under the age of 10 who know nothing but crisis. Very sad. The way I look at the crisis is like this. Somebody said earlier it's an ethics crisis. It was John. I agree 100%. We've had 10 broken years, not just financially broken years, but ethically broken years in terms of our sense of self, a lot of things. And we got the past on the one side, we got the future on the other side. What the world feels and thinks about you, however, depends on what you feel and think about yourself. Ethos. Who are we? I gave a talk in 2011 where I spoke about rebranding Greece. It's actually about rebranding Greeks. Να βρούμε αυτό το ποιοι είμαστε. It can't be that. We're not all-time classics. How are we going to go forward, for God's sake? When I think about Greece, what should I think about besides olive oil beaches and Socrates or the Diamandis? It's got to be something more than that. He's damn right. I was interviewed by a journalist from Süddeutsche Zeitung a couple of years ago, and he said to me, "Are Greeks Europeans?" And I said, "Από πού ήρθε αυτός? Δεν καταλαβαίνει μερικά πράγματα." But then I realized that what he was actually asking me was this: what role do Greeks play in the world today? Was the question he was asking me. Here's my answer: we will never be good Germans. But we must become exceptional Greeks. Exceptional Greeks. Somebody else said earlier, that doesn't mean being the best in the world. It means being the best that we are. That's crucial. That's crucial. And by the way, this is who we are as far as I'm concerned. Of all people, the Greeks have dreamt the dream of life best. And that's expressed in so many ways. In so many ways. I see Greece as having every potential to become the west coast of Europe. We've got the weather, we've got the lifestyle, we've got that love of life that I've just showed you. And when I gave that talk in 2011 on rebranding Greece, I made a statement that we should be the apple of the Mediterranean. And Nick Malkoutsis from Kathimerini wrote an article and he said, Greece is the apple of the Mediterranean. It's a crazy idea. In fact, it's an idea that is just about crazy enough to succeed. And here we are in Trikala. Here we are in Trikala, where this insane stuff is happening. Of course we can do it. Yinete. I did a campaign for Greek tourism back in 1989, I think it was 1990. Chosen by the gods was the slogan. This is one of the ads. I said, thank God she left the light on. I was talking about Athena, goddess of wisdom. And thank God that the ancients have left the light on. But let's respect the past, let's enhance it, but let's not preserve it. Not all-time classic, for God's sake. Thank you, Trikala, for doing what you do. And thank you very much for having me here. I'm very honored.